Hi guys. So let me cover up because I'm ashy and everything. But hey guys, I just wanted to come on here and first of all, before I even get started, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Just Endless Love, and I am Jessica, and I'm here to spread love, positivity. Sorry guys, and light. Right. I just wanted to do a video because I wanted to explain why I chose to give up my subsidy housing. I'm not by, let me position this differently. I'm not by any means trying to convince anyone else to give up their housing, but I'm just explaining to you guys why I chose to give up mine. Okay, so I'm gonna start from the very beginning. This video may be a little long, but you guys may enjoy long videos, so I'm just gonna go for it, right? So, when I was 19 years old, well, first I went into a shelter when I was uh, around like, I had to be 18. Yes, I was 18 when I went into a shelter. I already had a small child, and I had gone into a shelter previously because I had my daughter, my oldest daughter, who's now 19. I had her when I was 17, and I had gone into a shelter, um, and it was a shelter for teen moms, and I had gone in there, but I didn't really like the rules. As a teen, you want to still kind of live that life, like you still want to be free, right? Which I had no business being free, but I kind of felt restricted, and I had moved far away from where I'm from, which my original city is Boston. So I had moved far away. It was like an hour and a half away from where my family lived and stuff. So I felt really lonely. I felt isolated at 17. So, I ended up leaving that shelter. So now, again, I fell pregnant, and I was 18, and my child's dad was like, "Hey, you gotta go into a shelter and get a place because you can't go with your family." My family was kind of like house hopping too. It was just a lot going on because we moved out of Boston and moved back to Boston. My parents had a lot of kids. It was just a lot to care for, and other things that I'm not going to get into now, but there were other things going on too as well. So I had left that shelter, and then I had gone into another shelter 18, and this time they put me into a DMV shelter, which is domestic violence shelter. Right, I've had a long life for such a short time being on earth, right? Because I'm only 36. But anyway, so I had gone into that shelter. Needless to say, I had gotten housing within like 6 months or so. I kind of was just like, well, whatever place comes first, because I just wanted to get out of the shelter so bad. You're dealing with other young girls. It was a teen shelter again, but it was, yeah, it was pretty much like a teen shelter. They had like a few older women there, so I wouldn't exactly say that it's strictly teens, but mostly there were teens there. So I decided that I was going to go into, whatever apartment that came up first. I was just like, I just need to get out here. I didn't know about how housing was in Boston, so I was just like, oh, well, whatever place comes first, I'm just gonna go, not knowing that housing is very scarce in Boston. So I had gone into the first, pretty much like the first place, because I didn't want to move out far. It wasn't exactly the first place, but it was the first place in Boston that became available because it was around the corner from my two older sisters. And I was like, oh, I can just walk to their house. This is like the perfect place. Wrong. I should have moved further out. I would have had better options, right? But I didn't know that. I was just like, well, I have these two small kids. I need help. So I need to live where my family lives. So I took the apartment at 19. I stayed there all the way up until the age of 34. It was a living hell. And I'm not going to act like I'm ungrateful, because for a while I was happy. I felt like, I'm blessed, which I'm blessed anyway, but I just felt happy. But the thing that happened was sometimes when you accept these housing vouchers, and by any means, like if you need to accept the voucher, I'm not telling anyone not to, but when you accept these vouchers, no one tells you about all these guidelines that you have to follow. And no one tells you, no one really explains to young teen moms or just young women in general that if you take a certain subsidy, that you're not allowed to move with the subsidy, which that's what happened to me. So I was stuck in this building. They only had so many units in the building, and I kept trying to move into a 3-bedroom because I had taken a 2-bedroom. My children were small. So I was like, well, I'll just make it work. Instead of just looking for a 3-bedroom, originally, I was just like, no, I'll take a 2-bedroom. The kids can share. They can share. Well, lo and behold, I kept going to school for like little things, and then I would stop. And I didn't really have like the support that I thought I was going to have, right? So as time just kept passing by, I wanted to zoom in, but apparently my phone's doing something weird. But anyway, as time was passing by, I became stagnant, and I was just like, oh, I'm comfortable. I'll just convert this space into a 3rd bedroom. And I did everything in that apartment. I did everything in that apartment. And my son ended up having asthma really, really bad. And he just kept getting sick, right? So I was like, he needs his own space, because the apartment square footage was like 800 square feet. It was a very small apartment. So I kept asking my management, hey, I need to be moved into a 3-bedroom, because by this time my kids are older. They shouldn't be sharing rooms anyhow. And they were like, no, you got to get on the waiting list. I said, okay, I'm going to get on the waiting list. Well, a waiting list takes forever, right? So I kept waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And instead of me I was trying to do little things. Like I was trying to get better education. I had gone to school and got certifications and all these things. But when you're just starting out with minimum wage, you're not going to get paid very much. Even people with 4-year degrees don't, sometimes they don't land the jobs that they want to land. They have to just take odd jobs to make ends meet, or so forth, right? So I was just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And everyone was just like, don't give up your subsidy. Don't give up your subsidy. Because by the time I got 32, I was like, I'm tired. I'm ready to go, right? So COVID ended up happening. COVID happens. And I'm just like, what the heck am I going to do now? Like, everything's shut down. Because I was even thinking about like, oh, I'm just going to take my little savings and go overseas or whatever the case may be. Which, I was just ready. I just wanted out. I just wanted my kids to experience something different. When I would get my taxes, I would go and like buy tickets to go on trips and stuff like that, which sometimes I question why I was doing that, because I'm very talented. I am a great chef. I had gone to culinary school, and I was working inside of a, I hope my thing is not, someone's calling me. Hold on, guys. Sorry. I was working inside of a, college. I was working inside of a college, right? Which I could have moved up fairly quickly, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy about the hours. I felt like I was missing all this time with my kids. So I was just like, no, I gotta, whatever. All these things were going on. So anyways, COVID happened, and then everyone was getting the stimulus checks. So I started saving all of the checks. And the wrong thing to do was I kept trying to buy a car, because at the time, I think my car had given up on me or something like that. So I was like, oh, I'm going to buy the car that I want. And I went and spent all this money on this car, and it ended up being a lemon. Anyways, so time just kept going on. And I had saved well over enough money to get the hell out of there and to be okay for a long while. And I had started dating this guy, and he was just a friggin' nightmare. Like, in the midst of that time, over those years, because remember, I was in this apartment for 16 years, right? Not this apartment, but, the subsidy apartment. I was in there for 16 years. So over the time, I had got married. I had another baby. So now I'm 3 babies in this apartment. My husband, I was just like, oh, well, you can just move here and we'll just save money. We were doing all the legal shit. I'm like, you could just save money and then we can buy a house. But he wasn't really quite on board with things. It was just all over the place. He was older. He had his, I don't know, his mindset. I had mine. We were just on two different pages. So that ended up not happening. Eventually, we just gone our separate ways. And I stayed in that apartment like 9 additional years. Well, I'm not gonna say that. After we separated, I stayed there still like 7 years after we had gone our separate ways. So, guys, I was just tired and I was exhausted because now I'm 3 kids in this 800 and some odd square foot apartment. And I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? And you know, when you make money, they increase your rent, and Boston is not quite rent friendly, like renter friendly, right? It gets quite expensive. You start making a little money, they raise your rent. With any subsidy, it goes 30% of your rent, 30, then 50, then so on and so forth. I don't really know, but I know that, you know, it was 30% of my income. And I was just like, this is just going to keep me stagnant, because the moment that I start making more, they're going to force me out. And if I make too less, they want to know everything about me. They want to know. So it's supposed to be a temporary stop. And I think that sometimes us women, especially single moms and single dads too now, right? We accept these vouchers and we get comfortable. They're not meant for us to get comfortable. They're meant for us to stabilize ourselves and get the hell on. But the thing is that how can you stabilize yourself when the moment that you make too much money, according to them, right? You got to get the hell on anyway. So it's like, it doesn't really balance out. And then they want to know everything. And it's just like, so you kind of remain stagnant because you get comfortable, right? And nobody likes to be uncomfortable. That's the thing in life. Like, nobody really likes uncomfort. Not really thinking, okay, this is just temporary. This is just going to be temporary, right? So finally, I got up the courage after I had started dating this guy, and he was just a mess. Like, he was beyond a mess. And then I had moved on. I was like, I gotta get away. Like, I wasn't running for because I already had my plans already set. I had dated this guy for a year. I already had my plans already set, right? And he was just like, well, you're gonna leave me, and it's like, dude, when I first started, like when we first made things official, I told you what my plans were. This isn't like a surprise, I'm gone. This was okay, if you're on board, like, you know, we need to work together and make this happen. I told him I didn't want to date if he wasn't okay with relocating within a year or two. Well, he was just being an ass. He would just get drunk and belligerent and just, I'm not going to even get into that, but he was being a true asshole. And I was like, I'm friggin' done. So I started packing up my stuff because I was like, what can I do? I already had my plan. I kept writing down the same plan over and over and over and over again. And then I kept doubting myself over and over and over again. And that's the thing, like sometimes you'll plan something, and when you start thinking on it, you'll end up talking yourself out of your blessings because you're thinking on it too hard. Okay, you already wrote your plan. Now you need to take action. Well, I was writing plans, and guess what? I wasn't taking any action. So I was like, dang, nothing good is happening for me. Started crying. Everything was like falling apart. I bought this car. It was a lemon. My house was flooding. Oh, I forgot to mention this part. Eventually, they finally moved me into a 3-bedroom. Oh, great. I felt comfortable again, right? I felt comfort again. But guess what? It wasn't God's plan, because every time you turn around, something was going wrong with that apartment. There was flooding. When I first moved in, there was a rat in my son's bedroom, and my son had asthma. That's how we were able to move to a bigger apartment, because they weren't budging. They were like, oh, 3 kids, so. Oh, this, so. Like, oh, that, so. They didn't care. They didn't care it was mold. They didn't care about any of those things. So I had to bring them to court for them to eventually move me. So anyway, I ended up finally moving, and then everything just was going wrong all over again. Like I cannot catch a break. Like, God, why? I started crying. I started feeling helpless. And the only thing that was keeping me going was my kids. Like in that period of time, I had lost my mom, which I'll get into that story another time, but I had lost my mom. I was just feeling defeated. Like I was severely depressed. And then they moved me into a basement apartment. There's no sunlight in basement apartments. Like I was just in that basement, depressed, crying. Sometimes I wouldn't even get out of bed. Like, and I was applying for other places, and it was just taking a long process. Like everything was just long and dragged. And I was just like, maybe God does not want me to be here. Like maybe he's pushing me out. Like I got to get up and take action. I keep writing these things down. I keep praying, but prayer without action is nothing. You're not going to get anything done. So I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I want to take the rest of my money. I'm going to look for an apartment online in a city that I want to move to, which I spoke to my sister who lives in a city that I live in now, and she was like, oh yeah, come down. That's another story. Well, actually, I kind of explained that, I believe, in my relocation video. If you guys are interested in that, you guys can check that out. But I was just like, God, I gotta get out of here. So the day that I was supposed to move, because I had gotten another vehicle, my ex had gotten me another vehicle, husband, and it was like an old car, and I was like, there is no way that I'm gonna drive this like 1,400 miles across country. I was scared. I was like, I'm gonna pray over this car. God's gonna protect me. Well, lo and behold, the car breaks down the day that I pack all the stuff in the car. I have my apartment. I have everything set up in my new city, and I pack all my stuff in the car. Car breaks down. I was like, well, thank God, right? Because imagine how I got on the road, and I'm all the way in another state, miles and miles away from home, and then this car breaks down. So I ended up getting a rental because I was like, you know what? That's just the devil trying to stop me. I got to get out of here. So I ended up getting a rental. I packed my baby in the car because my older children was like, no, we're just going to stay. We'll stay with family and dad or whatever. And I had gotten them already set up because I was planning this move for years. I just kept procrastinating. So I was like, I gotta go, because if I don't leave this subsidy, if I don't leave this safety net, I'm gonna be here. Like, I know some people who have been in subsidy for 30 plus years, 40 plus years. Like, people don't give up their housing because they are afraid that they will never find housing again, or will take so many years that they will be homeless in the process. I was like, I gotta get out of here. I know God has greater things for me. So look at me talking all spiritual, and I got my little drink. But anywho, I just knew I had to get out, and I did. And I'm glad that I did, because when I moved to my new city, I didn't have the safety net anymore. So I had to do. I had no choice but to take action. And I didn't come down here with $400 or $500 in my pocket. No. I saved thousands of dollars so that I made sure that I had that security, so that I wasn't relying on family and friends to send me money. Or, I wasn't relying on that. When I arrived here, I was just like, I gotta work, and I found a job, and it wasn't really making all that much money, but guess what? I worked 7 days a week, and I was blessed because I had gotten lucky enough to have a job where on the weekends or after school, if I had to stay extra hours, it was literally across the street from my complex. So I would pick my daughter up and head right back to work. And she would go to work with me, and she would relax, and she would chill, and she would do everything that, she needed to do. And that's what I did for like the first 6 months that I was here. In the process, I was applying for other places. I kept applying for other places because I was like, this is not it. I cannot stay here. I cannot remain stagnant, right? I know that there's greater things. And then I end up landing an apprenticeship at the job that I'm at now, which is a great job, by the way. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to get some type of other certification or something bigger and better, because what I'm doing isn't cutting it, right? So I had to make that sacrifice and that decision. So what I'm saying to you guys is, it's okay for you to take your Section 8 or your subsidy. Even Section 8 has like home buyers programs and stuff like that. But I'm telling you guys, do not get too comfortable, because you never know the way things are going in the next 5 years or so forth. These things may not be available anymore. They're passing all these laws and different things. Every time you turn around, there's something different going on. Do not rely on government assistance. Like, if you take it, write down your plan. And I wish that someone would have told me that the moment that I had taken that voucher, or the moment that I accepted food stamps. Oh, my foot is going to sleep. The moment that I accepted my situation and just got comfortable, I wish someone would have been like, hey, don't get comfortable with this. Even my siblings, I have siblings that have taken subsidy as well and have remained there for years, 25 years, 30. Like, you become stagnant if you don't write down your goals. I gotta do everything with my hands. I don't know what, maybe it's my nerves, because I'm not used to talking in front of the camera just as yet. But I just really wanted to share with you guys, like, please don't become reliable on government assistance or food stamps or Social Security or whatever. If you have a disability, by all means, you have to do what you have to do. I'm not here to judge you. How can I? I'm still like trying to make it. I'm not anywhere where I want to be at, and anywhere where God, has planned for me. I know that there's bigger, better, and greater out there. But I know that without, prayer without action is just that. It's just prayer. You have to put action behind your prayers, and you have to have faith. And, I'm not here to disrespect anyone else's religion. Like, by all means, I'm not, whatever you believe in, whatever your religion is, whatever. If you're more spiritual, I get spiritual too. I'm not all, God. I'm not one of those people who push things on someone. But I do know that I pray, and I do believe greatly in prayer, and I do pray to God, right? And I hope that you guys make decisions for yourself, and always think of the bigger picture, and always put in that action, because the worst feeling in the world is to feel stagnant, like you have nothing or no one, or that's your like feeling like that's your last resource. Like, okay, I'm just gonna accept my circumstances, because this must be what God has for me, because everything's going wrong. Sometimes everything goes wrong so that things can go right. Sometimes everything goes wrong so that you can get up off your what and go and chase what you need to be chasing. That's why some things go wrong. It's not always, oh my God, my life is just in shambles and this is, why me, God? No. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing, and he knows why he puts you where you are. And sometimes that fire has to be lit underneath your behind for you to get up and go after what you need to be going after. You can't say, oh, I want this, I want that, and you think it's going to fall from the sky. No, you have to put action in what you want in life. You have to put in action in prayer and have faith. So that's my message for you guys today. And that's why I chose to give up my subsidy housing that I was in for 16 or 15 years, however long I was in, 15 or 16 years. I just got tired. My daughter's home. Yes. Oh, okay. I'm going to end this because my baby's at the door. Bye.